The 17th century was a time of great religious upheaval in Europe. Wars and conflicts raged across the continent, driven by deep-seated religious differences and intolerance. Many people faced persecution for their beliefs. They were ostracized, imprisoned, and even executed for practicing their faith. This led some to seek refuge in the New World. They embarked on perilous journeys across the Atlantic, driven by the hope of finding a place where they could worship freely. Among these were the settlers of Maryland and Rhode Island. These brave souls were determined to build new lives in a land that promised freedom and opportunity. These colonies were founded on the principle of religious freedom. Maryland, established by Lord Baltimore, and Rhode Island, founded by Roger Williams, became sanctuaries for those fleeing religious persecution. They offered a haven to those fleeing religious persecution. In these new colonies, people of different faiths could coexist peacefully and practice their beliefs without fear. The founding of these colonies marked a turning point in the history of religious liberty. They demonstrated that it was possible to create a society where religious tolerance was a fundamental value. They set a precedent for the separation of church and state. This principle would become a cornerstone of American democracy, ensuring that government and religion remained distinct entities. This idea would later become a cornerstone of American democracy. The vision of a society where individuals could freely practice their faith without government interference was revolutionary. The legacy of Maryland and Rhode Island continues to inspire people around the world. Their commitment to religious freedom and tolerance has left an indelible mark on history. They stand as a testament to the importance of religious freedom and tolerance. These states remind us of the enduring power of these principles in shaping a just and inclusive society. In 1632, King Charles I of England granted a charter to George Calvert, the first Lord Baltimore. This charter allowed Calvert to establish a colony in what is now Maryland. Calvert was a Catholic. He envisioned Maryland as a haven for English Catholics who faced persecution in Protestant England. Calvert died before he could see his vision come to fruition. His son, Cecilius Calvert, the second Lord Baltimore, inherited the charter and founded Maryland in 1634. The colony welcomed settlers of all faiths. However, it was particularly attractive to Catholics who sought refuge from religious persecution. In 1649, the Maryland General Assembly passed the Maryland Toleration Act. This act granted religious freedom to all Christians in the colony. It was a landmark piece of legislation. For the first time in the English colonies, people were free to practice their Christian faith without fear of persecution. The Maryland Toleration Act was a significant step towards religious freedom in America. It helped to establish a tradition of religious tolerance that would eventually be enshrined in the United States Constitution. Section 4, Rhode Island, a sanctuary for dissenters. Roger Williams was a Puritan minister who arrived in Massachusetts Bay Colony in 1631. He was a man of strong convictions and deep faith, but his beliefs often put him at odds with the established norms of the colony. He held radical views on religious freedom, which were considered revolutionary at the time. Williams believed in the separation of church and state, a concept that was almost unheard of in the 1630s. He argued that true faith could not be mandated by the government and that individuals should have the freedom to worship as they chose. He argued that the government had no right to interfere in matters of conscience. This stance was seen as a direct challenge to the Puritan authorities who governed Massachusetts Bay Colony. Williams's views were met with hostility and suspicion by the Puritan leaders who saw his ideas as a threat to their religious and social order. As a result, he was banished from the colony in 1635. Facing the harsh New England winter, Williams fled south, enduring great hardship. In 1636, he founded the colony of Rhode Island, a place where his vision of religious freedom could be realized. Rhode Island was founded on the principle of religious freedom for all. It was a radical experiment in tolerance and diversity, attracting settlers from various backgrounds and beliefs. It became a haven for those fleeing religious persecution in other colonies. People of different faiths, including Quakers, Baptists and Jews, found refuge in Rhode Island. Williams' legacy of religious freedom and separation of church and state would later become a cornerstone of American democracy. Section 5, Anne Hutchinson, a champion of religious liberty. Anne Hutchinson was another religious dissenter who found refuge in Rhode Island. Hutchinson was a Puritan woman who held unorthodox religious views. She challenged the authority of the Puritan clergy. Her teachings attracted a large following. Hutchinson was put on trial for heresy in Massachusetts Bay Colony in 1637. She was banished from the colony. She and her followers fled to Rhode Island, where they were welcomed by Roger Williams. Hutchinson's story highlights Rhode Island's commitment to religious freedom. It provided a safe haven for those persecuted for their beliefs. Section 6. A lasting legacy. The enduring impact of Maryland and Rhode Island. Maryland and Rhode Island played a pivotal role in shaping the American tradition of religious freedom. These two colonies were among the first to establish a society where individuals could practice their faith without fear of persecution or reprisal. This was a revolutionary idea at the time, as many other colonies had strict religious codes and did not tolerate dissenting beliefs. These colonies were founded on the principle that individuals should be free to worship according to their own conscience, without fear of persecution. In Maryland, the Act of Toleration of 1649 was one of the first laws to explicitly protect religious freedom. Meanwhile, Rhode Island, founded by Roger Williams, became a haven for those fleeing religious intolerance, promoting the idea that government should not interfere in religious matters. This principle was enshrined in the First Amendment to the United States Constitution, which guarantees the free exercise of religion. The influence of Maryland and Rhode Island's early commitment to religious freedom can be seen in this foundational document, which has served as a model for other nations around the world. The legacy of Maryland and Rhode Island continues to inspire people around the world today. Their early commitment to religious freedom laid the groundwork for a society where diversity of belief is not only tolerated, but celebrated. Visitors to these states can still see the historical sites where these groundbreaking ideas were first put into practice. They serve as a reminder that religious freedom is a precious and fundamental right. Monuments and plaques in these states commemorate the brave individuals who fought for the right to worship freely, reminding us of the importance of protecting this freedom for future generations. Their story is a testament to the power of religious freedom and tolerance. The peaceful coexistence of different faiths in these colonies set a precedent for the rest of the country, showing that it is possible to build a society based on mutual respect and understanding. They stand as beacons of hope for those who seek refuge from persecution. The enduring impact of Maryland and Rhode Island's commitment to religious freedom continues to offer hope and inspiration to those who face religious persecution around the world, reminding us of the enduring power of tolerance and acceptance.